Welcome on, guys. I sent an invite to Steve. We're just waiting for him to join us. So we'll get going in a couple minutes here. Can you hear me okay? Hey, Steve, you should be on the invite that I sent you. Hang on a second. There you are. One second. It's fighting me. There you are.
Hello.
Welcome on. So I'm
How
just
are
gonna
you?
give good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Had a long week, but I'm
Yeah,
here.
yeah. I appreciate you being here. We're just gonna give a couple minutes for more folks to come in. They're trickling in now.
Okay, cool. No worries with me.
Yep.
I no work for the weekend, so lucky me.
Nice. That's good. That's
Yeah,
good.
it's not always the case, but when I get a weekend where I know I don't have to do anything, like I have some leisure time this weekend, so I'm actually gonna go fly a drone around Dallas and get some shots for work.
Oh,
So
cool.
I'm doing work when I don't have to, but that's because I like to shoot.
Yeah, fun work. Okay, so Dark Alley says hi, homie.
Hey,
So
Hey
that
Alex, that's my buddy Alex. He's actually a makeup artist that I know back home
nice.
from Wisconsin. He's really, really, really good. He
Oh, did you drop? I think Steve dropped. Can you all still see me and hear me? Okay. He said, uh-oh. So do you want to try to rejoin? We can get you back in here, hopefully. Let's see if that works. Okay. Thank you for letting me know y'all can hear me. I'm just hoping that Steve's going to be able to get back in, or this is going to be a really short chat tonight. So we'll see. Hi, Cole. Let me see if I can boot this one that's not working so he can get back in. Well, it's not letting me let him in. One sec. Oh, there you are, sort of.
yeah. I don't know what happened there. All of a sudden, it just said that the whole thing ended for me.
Yeah, it froze. Your face froze, and then you just dropped, I guess. Because to us, you were still here, just solid.
Oh
Yeah.
well, great. I'm connected to Wi-Fi. My phone's charged up. I shouldn't have any issues. So I'm sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good. Instagram is. We'll just leave it that way.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
Yeah. So,
Um,
go
yeah.
ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Go
No.
ahead. No. I forgot what I was even in the middle of saying. So go ahead.
Oh, you were telling us about Alex, I think, special
Yeah.
effects.
Yes. So he's a buddy of mine from back home. I'm from Wisconsin originally, and I live in Dallas, Texas now. But I met him, man, I think it was college. I think we met. I forget exactly how we met, but I got to know him. I've done some work with him in the past on projects. He's actually supplied me with like scarring makeup that I had
Oh,
used for Halloween costumes and stuff.
awesome.
Um, really, really cool dude. He doesn't probably want me to brag for him, but he got to spend a season working on The Walking Dead. So
Oh,
doing
very
like,
cool.
yeah, doing zombie makeup and stuff like that. And I've always been in kind of infatuated with that show, even though it's not good. It was a show I started watching in the beginning and I never let go of. So it was kind of like really, really cool to know somebody who had been involved with that kind of production.
Yeah, we used to watch Face Off all the time, all the special effects that they did on that show, and
Yes, yes. That
loved it. Yeah,
yeah, it's super, super fun to see all that kind of stuff and how it all comes together. Because I could never ever do something like that, but being able to see somebody else who can is super, super cool to me.
yeah, yeah, that's very cool. So more folks are still coming in.
Cool.
Um, but just to give you guys kind of an overview of why Steve was willing to come on tonight, is we want to talk about video. And I saw a question that floated by a few seconds ago that asked how you got into drift photography. And that's one of the first kind of questions that we ask. So you don't mind sharing how you got into this? What brought you to
Um,
that?
yeah, absolutely. So, drifting was something that was always like always something I wanted to get into. It was always there as an interest. I always watched FD whenever I could get my opportunities. Um, I just, for me, it was one of those things where I knew it was there. I knew it was around. I knew I just needed to put myself in a position to get into it. And when I saw a lot of the content that, you know, I had friends who would go up to US Air, the track that was local to us,
Right.
and they would go there and they would come back with just awesome content. Like I've seen, you know, pictures of my buddies whipping the bird going by in the middle of them drifting their own cars.
Yep.
And I was like, that's cool. Like that, like I want to do that. How do I get to that? And they were like, oh, well, it's 3.5 hours away from where you live. And I'm like, great. So eventually it got to a point where I wanted to step into that realm. I was living a lot closer at the time. So it was easier for me to, because I got all these shoots. For all the grassroots stuff that I do, I don't get paid for any of it. I mean, the one where we met, that
Yep.
was my first drift event that I was getting paid for.
Mm-hmm.
And it was for, you know, a company that just wanted content from me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd always tried to justify the cost of, you know, getting all my stuff, going out there, because shooting video was a bigger animal. And for getting into drifting, it was just a matter of I I wanted it to look cool in video. Like I started off with
Mm-hmm.
photography and doing a lot of car shows and stance stuff and all that, and it was cool to a point, but they were always never moving, so it wasn't that boring, and I could take a really, really good photograph, especially during like sunsets.
Right.
So it just kind of snowballed into, I want to do something more than just shooting video of cars that are just at a standstill. And I'm a big movie kid.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up on my parents were 20 when they were born, so like I got put in front of the TV a lot throughout my childhood, and just getting to have all that soak into me. I mean, it's definitely a part of who I am when it comes to my interests and everything. And I just found drifting to be something that was just so exciting. And like, obviously, I think I maybe be a little cliche to go at it this way, but I didn't really know drifting was like a thing until Fast and the Furious showed me. But from
Right.
there, you know, it piqued my interest. It was always something that was there, and trying to get into it was tougher because I see the content coming from the track. I'm like, man, this is really good content. I don't have anything that looks like this. I know I need to get a media pass to be able to shoot up
Yep.
close and get the shots that I want. How am I gonna pull this off? So it got to a point where I just started putting together little show reels, and when I would apply for media passes, I would include those with my
Mm-hmm.
application. And finally, eventually, they just approved me, and it worked, and I was able to go. And after a while, I started getting approved for all the media events that I was applying for,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just something that I really wanted to do. I feel like I didn't really answer the question, but
You
like,
did. You
yeah.
did. You did. Don't worry. I got a question from Unknown Casey. How did we find each other to have this chat? So we met at Knuckle Up Friday Night Lights, right?
Yes.
So we were out at Speed Sports, and I shoot, that's my local track. So I shoot at that track. My son drifts on that track, and that's how I was out there. And then I just kind of started talking to him because I need to be better at video. Video is not my strong suit, and I don't really, my brain doesn't really think that way. I think more photography and panning shots and stuff like that is what I really like. But I think all of us would like to do a better job at video. So being able to talk to somebody that's what you shoot predominantly is why I wanted to bring him out and chat. Okay. Fast and Furious, yes. Most of us could talk about Fast and the Furious and how that brought us in. I think I saw Nate pop on, and he asked what your preferred shutter angle is for video.
In most cases, I shoot at 180 degrees. Okay. Just because it comes down to, I guess, the look of it. When I'm shooting, if I'm shooting at 24 frames per second, which is just your standard speed, you know, getting that like you were talking about with the panning shots, that's something that I'm a real big fan of too. When I can lock in on a car, keep it in the center of the frame, and then you get this sort of, it's called a parallax of the background kind of swirling and moving behind you and the way it blurs. Yeah. When you shoot at a shutter angle, so with my camera, I have actually it's a cinema camera, so I have the ability to shoot shutter speed or shutter angle. And with shutter speed, I think I can set it to 1/48, but most cameras don't shoot 1/48, at least like Sony's and stuff like that. They'll shoot like 140 or 150 or 160. And if I shoot at 180-degree shutter angle when I'm shooting 24 frames per second, I get that 1/48, which is a minute difference when it comes to shutter speed, I guess. But I'm looking at it as I grew up around like movies, so I'm trying to not do much more than like 180-degree shutter is double the frame rate. So if I'm shooting 120 frames, that's 1/240 for shutter speed. And I want to stay within that standard because that's like, I went to college for 2 years in Milwaukee to a school where I was trying to learn how to do photo and video and all that. And I met some real cinematographers while I was there. They were kind of, you would almost call them film snobs. So they started letting me in on like standards and stuff like that of like, this is what you want to try and fall within when you're shooting. And then they taught me about the exposure triangle and everything, and just making it work based on that rule of following, you know, just doubling my frame rate, because when I do that, I will have what looks to be the most natural to the human eye. So I always try and look at it that way, as like, I want what you're watching to be comfortable. And I know at times, like I've seen people that put out videos that are 60 frames per second. I can't do that. I can't watch it, or it bothers me because I find it highly distracting. So when you get that kind of natural look within the frame, you get this sort of natural feel, and it sort of sucks you into the experience a little bit more. And that's overall what I'm going after with these videos, is the experience of what you're seeing and what you're feeling out of it. So like the creative to shoot at that kind of shutter speed or shutter angle is just to you know, look as cinematic as possible. I hate using that word because there's so many words that, like, I grew up like bokeh was one that nobody knew for the longest time, and then it caught on, and it caught like wildfire. And so like there's certain terms and words I try to avoid, but getting that truly cinematic experience, that's why I try and follow those standards.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. We've got a question from Content by Conley. What is the thought of AI in the creative field? Excited or nervous about it?
I'm excited about it for certain reasons, but I'm also nervous about it for others, because there's the whole will I have a job forever factor. I mean, my main job right now is I shoot, but I'm editing 70% of the time because of the amount of shooting that gets done. And it's me and 2 other guys. So there's a lot of content to go through, and that's just what I end up doing right now. So AI in a way has helped me already in terms of editing, but I can see where it scares me. I don't think that AI is to a point yet where it can be, it can, I guess going against what I just said about following a standard, AI with like if it ever got to a point of AI shooting,
Mm-hmm.
they would be following the AI would follow like a standard algorithm that they find based off of countless research that the AI does. Or
Right.
that at least this is me thinking in my head. I don't know anything about AI, so if anything I'm saying is wrong, I'm so sorry. And I'm just trying to make sense here. But like
Yeah.
the AI would do it and follow a method to what's already out there instead of the AI being able to go out there and see something from a different creative aspect. Like
Right.
even going against what I said with shutter angle, if I'm shooting at 180 degree, I get that natural look. But say I'm working on a music video and I want to have that sort of ghosting effect
Mm-hmm.
when they're moving around, I'll crank it up to a 240 degree. I've never shot at a 360 degree shutter because it just looks obnoxious to me. Yeah, unless you're holding perfectly
Right.
still. But like 240 degrees is a good where if you want to get like a lot of motion blur and a weird effect, but still hold focus a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It can give you a really unique look, but it's usually something that's more stylized and something that you see in music videos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
Um,
yeah, AI excites me. It scares me. All the above.
I, I think that's the consensus, and a lot of it is like, oh, am I still going to be able to have a job? Am I still going to be able to do the things that I love to do, or is it going to be easier for them to not deal with a creative, right? Not deal with somebody that has their own kind of idea about how things should look and stuff, and just kind of program it in and let it go.
Mhm.
So yeah, I feel like that's a lot of us. Alex wants to know, do you use cinema lenses with a first AC?
Uh, no, actually, when I am shooting, yes and no. So yes, I use cinema lenses. I don't, I own it's from a old Panasonic. I own a zoom lens that I never ever use, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just a standard photography lens. But I have a 12, a 30, a 12, a 17.5, a 35, and an 85 millimeter prime lens. And the reason for those odd sizes is because the camera that I'm shooting on, it's a Z cam, and it's a Z cam E2. So it's not the very first one, but it's pretty old.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a micro four thirds sensor. So I'm dealing with a 2 times crop factor when I'm
Right.
shooting. So 12 millimeters, 24, 17 is 35, 35 is 70, and so on.
Right.
But I'm shooting on primes. I'm shooting manual focus. I'm usually the one pulling focus myself. So me being as blind as I am, I really, really rely on the focus peaking that my monitor gives me.
Right.
That's something that I love having. I have mine in bright pink, so that way I can see it no
Mm-hmm.
matter what, even during the day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the cinema lenses I prefer over the photography lenses.
Mm-hmm.
When I was still just doing photo and not doing video, one of the biggest things that frightened me about shooting video was knowing at the time that if you want to be able to have good auto or good focus, you need a manual focus. And
Right.
manual focus always scared me on photography lenses unless I was using autofocus, because they're, I don't want to say weird, but they're very electronic in their throw of focus,
Mm-hmm.
where like all of a sudden it seems like you hit a certain point and it just woof, and it'll shoot out or in or whichever way you're pulling. Whereas with the cinema lens and the way I have my focus puller set up, I know it's all mechanical, and if I turn the wheel forward, it's going to move the focus forward.
Mm-hmm.
If I turn the wheel backward, it's going to pull it in towards me. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really, really easy to focus hunt, and you'd be surprised how much not intimidating it is to shoot with a cinema lens. Like the throw of the focus, the mechanical focus. I mean, in some cases you're turning that focus ring 280 degrees around the lens.
Mm-hmm.
So with that long of a throw, you have a long area of focus, so you can really, really smooth it out. And I love it, because if I shoot at, say, all these lenses are T-stop lenses, they're not f-stop lenses, so it's still aperture, but it's just measuring light slightly different.
Right.
So if I'm shooting at T4, I still have at 15 feet ahead of me, which is usually about the distance between me and the track on
Hmm.
like my 35 millimeter lens, I still have a really, really, really good area of focus. So I only have to hunt for maybe 20 degrees
Hmm.
on the lens itself. And I think that for me works really, really well when it comes to pulling focus. And I think the reason why I became obsessed with shooting all this stuff manual focus was because I have a friend, Zach, he's been shooting for the last 14 years for Formula Drift, and he
Hmm.
had told me once that like it takes a very special skill to learn how to pull focus on a 200 millimeter lens at f4 on a car that's moving 100 miles an hour, or
Hmm.
just a car that's moving fast.
Right.
Like it takes a special talent to do that, and I was like, man, I that's cool to me. I
Hmm.
want to learn how to do that.
Well, and
Um,
it's fascinating because photography lenses, when we talk prime with photography lenses, if you're wanting to address focus, your body has to be the thing moving, right? Like you're getting closer to it or you're getting further away from it, but you have to move. So it's not a super smooth kind of experience when you're using a prime on track and they're flying by you. Whereas with your cinematic camera and the things that you have available to you, you're able to pull that focus even though it's a prime.
yeah, it works out really, really well, I think, in my opinion. I actually would prefer it. Like I love the ease of shooting autofocus, especially like with work. We're shooting on like Sony's,
Mm-hmm.
and the autofocusing on that, they're pretty decent. They're not perfect, but they work really, really well for shooting a car out in the middle of the day. And I can walk from 30 feet away to 10 feet away and the car will stay in focus the whole
Right.
time. Like that's really, really convenient.
Yeah.
Um, but man, does it look way better when it's shot on a cinema camera
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
primes and everything. Like, and you're pushing it. It's cool, but it's especially tough with like pulling focus on a gimbal because um, I'm shooting on a Ronin RS2
Okay.
with a ring, and my focus puller is just like on my finger. It's just a ring that's in front of my finger, and I pull it one way. But I was surprised the throw on it. I can pull it from one side to the other and get really decent throw. I'm not sitting there like pushing on it like the wheel to get it round and round to finally make it go around. Like if I pull it one way, it goes. If I pull it the other way, it comes back. So it's tough, but it's it doesn't bother me. I prefer it. Like I might be the odd duck here, but I really really enjoy shooting on the lenses that I shoot with, and they're not the most expensive cinema lenses in the world. Two of them are Rokinon. One of them is called a Laowa. They
Never
it's the
heard of
same.
that.
Have you seen the probe lens? It's
Hmm.
the lens on the stick. They make that. So
Oh,
it's the
okay.
same company that made that. And then I have another one called a Mikey,
A
and
Mikey. Okay.
that's one of my wider primes. But they're all really, really cheap. All my lenses I think were under
Hmm.
$500 for not for everything all together, but each of them were under like $500. So I feel I got a really, really good deal for the flaws that they have that I choose to ignore, which is something that like I don't think I'm at that level of cinematographer yet
Hmm.
to be really worried about like, oh well, this lens does this with the chromatic aberration. Like
Yeah.
I don't have any issues with any of that. I have a crop factor to deal with, so I'm not seeing any of that.
Hmm.
I just want it to look as best as it possibly can, and I this camera really works with my workflow, so I
That's
like it.
awesome. That's good. I have a question from, is it El Hambino? What is the movie that influenced you the most to pursue this passion? That's a hard question.
That so I was thinking so I knew this question would come up and I was trying to think about it earlier this week, and I was even having conversations with my fiance about it. Like I don't know how to answer like if somebody says like what are your top five favorite movies of all time? That changes on the given day.
Yep. Yep.
It all depends on just where I'm at, I guess, mentally and what I've been watching recently.
Hmm.
Um I would say I've wanted to. So I got into the whole camera thing because I wanted to make movies.
Hmm.
It was a childhood dream. I was a big fan of the original Batman movies because
Hmm.
I was just stupid young when those came out. But I also grew up with movies like Michael Bay making a movie like The Rock with Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery. Like that
Yep.
was him. That was him before like Transformers and stuff. So he was still
Mm-hmm.
making decent movies. But like Heat is a
Mm-hmm.
big influencing movie on me from my childhood. I people might turn their nose up at this, but movies like Titanic have inspired me
Mm-hmm.
to pursue filmmaking and stuff like that. As I got older, because of growing up like lower middle class in like a weird suburb of Milwaukee that was
Mm-hmm.
kind of not great and trashy, I I I got away from that because a lot of times, especially not so much from like my parents as much, because I think
Mm-hmm.
my parents were always just in support of whatever I would want to do. I know one of my relatives at one point in time had mentioned schooling to me, but I always talked as a little kid about wanting to make movies when I grew up. And
Mm-hmm.
I was always told, like, you know, you might want to look at a different avenue, not trying to break your heart, but like that's a really hard thing to
Mm-hmm.
accomplish. And you don't come from a family that has the kind of money to get you into the right kind of schooling to get you there. And
Right.
this was all mid 90s, you know, mid to
Mm-hmm.
late 90s at that point, and internet wasn't really, people had internet, but it wasn't really a thing.
Mm-hmm.
YouTube hadn't happened yet. Like we had a computer in my house and I wasn't allowed to touch it. So um,
Right.
so like I was kind of growing up with the thought always being pushed in my head, like you're never going to be able to do this. You're never going to find
Mm-hmm.
that kind of level of success. It's a pipe dream, you know. Don't go after that. So as I got older, I mean, I got into skateboarding.
Mm-hmm.
I was That led me into cars. Cars led me down the road of like working at Advanced Auto Parts for a couple of
Yep.
years, and I'm gonna be a mechanic. That's gonna be my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to a diesel mechanic while I was working there. And he had told me, he was like, if you want to do anything good with your life, don't be a mechanic. He's like, I sink more money every year into buying tools
Yep.
for new shit that comes out that I wouldn't recommend it. I'd find a different avenue in life to go down. And then the same week, I took 2 days off of work. And this is the part that I hate admitting, because this was kind of the thing that really pushed me back into the whole chase the film thing.
Mm-hmm.
That same week, I took 2 days off of work because they were filming Transformers 3 at the Art Museum in Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
And it was cool because they had this little yellow dots in
Mm-hmm.
there. But I sat there in a parking garage that was across the street from the art museum, and I watched for 2 days them fully make this movie. I didn't if they were inside, I couldn't see any of that. I could see all the production
Right.
outside, but I got to sit there and just watch it. And I took it all in, and then the following week, I was like, okay, I'm gonna try and go to film school. And unfortunately, I went after going to the Art Institute of Wisconsin. It has nothing to do with the really prestigious school, the Art Institute of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
That one I'd go down to Chicago and see all the time, and it was really, really nice, and it looked really expensive. I was not part of that art institute. The art institute that I went to got shut down for fraud,
Oh,
for enrolling
wow. Okay.
too many students. Yeah. So they promised job placement, and they were enrolling 400 students a year,
Mm-hmm.
and there wasn't 40 jobs in Milwaukee that were film related that they could put us in. And they
Right.
were doing the job placement thing. Oh no, my cat, one of my cats she's a tortoise and she's screechy, so she might come in here and yell at me.
That
Um,
actually leads me to a question from Content by Conley again. Do
okay.
you feel like moving from Wisconsin / the Midwest is essential to moving one's film career forward?
Um, yeah, and yes and no. You don't have to go as far as I did to get out of Wisconsin to find the film industry that you're going after,
Mm-hmm.
or the film industry that you want to be in. If you can figure out a creative way, I mean, especially being in Wisconsin, I know Greg. I don't know. I think he lives north of Milwaukee, but either way, he's not that far from Chicago. Chicago is a great place that if you go down there, and I mean, you probably want to join some Facebook pages and try and get to know some people, maybe, you know, create a reel for yourself that you can put out to, like, hey, I'm a this is what I do. Here's, you know, example of my work. I'd love an opportunity to come in and just shadow for a day, or like
Mm-hmm.
even come in and like work for like a base pay rate. I mean, I started doing production assistant work on film sets to get into that kind of thing. Even being down here, I was going and doing PA work for a friend of mine, Elijah, that I met. But getting out there and getting to an area that the film scene is more relevant. I mean, the film scene is very, very relevant in Milwaukee. There's a very, very strong independent film community. But what I have seen from that community is that those people aren't in. The people that do get out, get out. The people that don't get out don't have any interest in getting out, really. It's usually they want to stay there. And it's not, I'm not trying to dog Milwaukee, but like, I've seen a lot of success come through Chicago more than I have Milwaukee. I mean, Milwaukee has had its moments. Milwaukee has its charm. But I think that if you really want to move fast and get somewhere quickly, I think Chicago is a better environment. I mean, just off the top of my head, there's an actor, Craig Robinson. He was in The Office. He's from Chicago, and I'm pretty sure Steve Carell even got kind of noticed, got started out of that area. So it's not impossible to get where you want to be in the Midwest. For me, it was. I love the fact that I moved down here, especially for work reasons. I'm definitely making more money. But I moved out of Wisconsin to get away from the weather. That was my big thing. I dealt with seasonal depression every year, and that was always a not fun thing to deal with for 7 months out of the year. And dealing with 2 months of being cold here in Dallas, and when it wasn't really even as cold as it got in Milwaukee, I'll tolerate that for the heat that I have to deal with. But I enjoy the heat too. This is something that, like, I'll go outside and I'll drip sweat. I don't care. If I'm shooting, I don't care how hot it is. I'll go do it. Just give me some water and I'll be fine.
Yeah.
So I guess the decision to move down here wasn't so much for work as much as it was to get away from that weather, but work was definitely a big thing. But I had a job and everything lined up down here when I moved. That's a whole other, we could do a whole episode talking about that, and it wouldn't be anything to do with cars.
Right.
Because that man was insane. But yeah.
Well, there's a question from Unknown Casey, and it's to both of us. When it comes to shooting, how do you feel about editing cars with difficult color schemes, overexposed liveries, and such? So for me, how I feel about it, I have a series that I've started doing to tell drivers what their paint choices do in affecting the photos that they're getting. So like talking about how white cars get easily blown out. They're hard in bright sunlight. That affects how many photos you're going to see of them. Or black cars at nighttime and all of that stuff. I'm not a livery girl. I'm okay with them, but I really like to see the car, and I want to see a clean car, basically. So for me, I don't change anything about their car. I'm not one of those people that wants to spend a lot of time editing, wants to play with stuff in Photoshop. I want to get it as right as I can get it in my camera when I set it to take the photo and not change it afterwards. So how do you feel about it, Steve?
I would say I'm in the same boat. I mean, when it comes to liveries, there's definitely stuff out there that I like, and then there's stuff out there that I don't like. The stuff that I don't like definitely tends to have a lot more chrome and reflective. I don't want to see myself in the car, especially if I'm shooting. Like, I try and hide the camera or the reflections of myself, especially when I'm shooting up close or any kind of detailed stuff, which is even something there I'd like to do more of. I don't do enough of it when it comes to drift shows. I got ADD, so I'm out there and I'm like drift. And
yep.
It's kind of how my brain works. But when it comes to shooting like darker cars, like you had mentioned, I think I had even commented on your post about it, that when it comes to like shooting like a flat black car, that if I'm shooting your car at night and it's flat black and you come ripping by me on a drift track in a dark spot, that clip's never going to see the light of day.
Right.
Just because I can't see you. When it comes to video, I don't have all the same options that a photographer might have to bring out the darkness in a shot. Like there's a kid that I didn't get a chance to meet him, but I've interacted with him a lot here on Instagram. I don't know how to say his Instagram handle. It starts with an E, and I know his name is Noah.
Yeah.
And he does all these crazy edits, and they're super cool. But I saw one recently that he did where he had underexposed a red car like quite a bit as a raw photo, and then did a lot in Photoshop afterwards to bring it out.
Yeah.
And it was super, super moody and cool, and
Mm-hmm.
it looked super dope. I don't have the option to do that. If I shot that dark, it would look dark.
Right.
So when it comes to shooting cars, I'm not super particular about it. The thing that I guess rubs me is shooting white cars during sunsets. That can be a pain in the ass depending on the angle. Usually if I'm shooting a white car, I can't shoot on any side of the car that the sun is going to be hitting the car, because when the sun gets to the point where it's hitting that hot, my filters, my CPL and variable ND filter that I use doesn't do enough to cut that down without making the rest of the image look underexposed. So in certain instances like that, I have to roll with it and kind of take the loss, I guess, of having that overexposed part of the car. But when it comes to video, I worry about that. I find a lot less.
Well, and it's helpful to hear from you that video, you don't have as much options, because I think that we get into this place where we're used to what a photographer can do with editing and changing and all of that stuff, and it doesn't translate directly across to video. It's a very different animal. So that's good to like let people know that, because I think a lot of times we have assumptions about what the photographer is thinking or doing, what the videographer is thinking or doing, how their process works. And I don't think everybody really knows what actually goes into nuts and bolts getting that stuff done, which is helpful to hear you say that, so that people can think of it that way instead of just, well, you got this cinema camera, you should be able to do all the things.
Right. And that's another thing too, is that a lot of people don't realize that cinema cameras they're very reliant on light, and you have to, in many cases, throw a lot of light at them. I may, with certain cinema cameras, you may have a great dynamic range that, you can see a lot across the spectrum. Of like, I don't have the money for that kind of camera. Those are very, very expensive when it comes to that. And when it comes to like shooting, like when going back to shutter speed or shutter angle, you'll never see me shoot video at like 1/30 or 1/40 for a shutter speed. Like, I know guys that do it, and that's totally fine. I don't judge. Like, if you want to shoot however, whatever works for you, that's fine. I don't. Just because for me, like if I'm shooting, like a good example is I have a shot on my Instagram page of Mad Cat's mic, his Red 240.
Yeah, Fat Cats.
Yeah, Fat Cats.
Yeah.
Fat Cat's mic. There we go.
Yep.
So he's ripping by. I was shooting at 24 frames per second, not shooting at a higher frame rate, so I wasn't shooting slow motion or anything. And just at that 180-degree shutter angle, which is 1/48 at the 24 frames, the motion blur that I get is insane. Like, I don't need to go down to 1/30 or 1/20 or something like that. I actually really like shooting photography 1/10 when it comes to motion shots.
Wow.
But I overshoot and underdeliver when it comes to that, because I'll get some really, really cool looking shots, but it's so hit or miss that like I can get maybe 5 shots out of 500.
Right.
And so I don't like doing that as much, even though I think it looks really, really cool. I mean, my wallpaper is a shot that I shot at 1/10. So like, I definitely like the way it looks, but when it comes to video, like you said, it just doesn't translate.
Yeah. Chavez wants to know, do you think No Country for Old Men is one of the best of all time? Thumbs up on that. Yes.
So,
and then,
No Country for Old Men, Sicario, Heat, and then those are all movies that I think are within the same realm, that are all really, really good. No Country for Old Men, I think, is the Coen brothers, one of their best. And it's one movie that I go back and I watch that movie like once every 6 months, and my fiance doesn't like it. She says it's boring, but you can't find a better example of great cinematography, great lighting, and great acting. And the best part about the acting is most of it doesn't have any talking. Like but you still feel this tension from it the entire time. It's like, give me more of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, great movie.
Okay. Alex is asking, what drone do you use? And when shooting with your drone, do you shoot in log?
Yes, I do shoot and log. Lately, I've been shooting on a DJI Mavic 3 Classic. So it's got the Hasselblad
Hmm.
zooming, and it zooms. I love the fact that it zooms. It's works. I actually, so because I borrowed it this weekend, I'm going to take it and learn how to actually do like a zoom shot while shooting, that I'm not like pinching on the screen and zooming in, because I only know how to zoom in like that right now. But I also, my personal drone is it's this.
Okay.
So I don't think this thing does a very good job shooting in log, and it only shoots 2.7K, so I don't use it that much. But it was a gift and it works, and so yeah, I need to use it more.
Yeah, you got to use what you have. I mean, that's one of the other things, right? Everybody thinks that you need to load up on all kinds of fancy gear and get as much of that as you can. And for me, like when I started doing drift photography, I was still using my Canon 7D, which is 13 years old at this point. It still works. Like
It's still a great camera.
yeah, it totally is. And February is when I upgraded finally. But you can really kind of go down the rabbit hole of adding all kinds of things and lenses and all that stuff. So, use what works and then wait and
I'm
see.
Yeah, I'm deep in the rabbit hole when it comes to things that I want. There's cameras out there that I would upset people in my life if I went and spent the amount of money that they cost.
Yes, yes. I love when Instagram serves me the ad for the $9,000 Canon lens. Like, oh, yes, please let me do that. Or the one that's like 19 grand. Like,
There
I could
was
get a drift car.
there was a Canon lens that I think was for the Hubble telescope that I saw a picture of recently, and it was going over prices of all these different lenses. I think it was on Facebook, but the Canon lens, it was for the Hubble telescope, it was $2.1 million.
Oh my God.
And
Oh my God.
it looked like a bazooka, and it actually looked like a bomb for like an old plane.
Right.
Like it just was missing the cone on the front.
Yeah. Zach Nuvo asked, are you Dallas based? So yes, Steve is in Dallas and I am between Houston and Arizona. So
nice. Yeah, I'm in Dallas. I've been living here since October of last year. I don't have any plans of leaving, at least for 5 years. I'm on a 5-year plan to figure it out here, and people don't agree with me, but I want to live in California, so that's kind of where I'm headed after this.
Okay. So what you do in your day-to-day is filming and shooting and still involved with cars, right?
Yes, my day job is I shoot and edit video for everything. I even do I did some product photography yesterday for Gas Monkey Garage.
Awesome.
So I've only been working there about a month. I really like it a lot. Richard is exactly the way he is in the show, on the YouTube channel. Like he's a very unfiltered person. But he's a guy that I have a lot of respect for, and I can appreciate, where he's coming from with like he'll make suggestions. I take them as they are. I know some people, I've never heard any of this, but he's very eccentric, so I can see where that might not be everybody's taste, but
right.
He doesn't bother me, and I don't know if I'll ever tell him this, but he reminds me of my late grandfather. So I guess and that grandfather was a big fan of the show, so there's, I guess, that going, like, I'm making him proud kind of thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's super cool. It's very surreal walking around. If you've ever seen the show on TV, it's super surreal walking around there in person, because it all looks the same. Like you're like, yeah, that air tank is there in the show.
Right. Yeah. Well, that looks familiar. Yeah. Question from Casey. When it comes to track time, what car model do you despise shooting and why? Wow, controversy. I don't really have a car that I despise shooting. I think that there are better choices that can be made that make the cars pop more to us. But realistically, I will shoot anything. Like I know, one of the things and one of the hallmarks of Knuckle Up is actually the style portion of it as well as the driving, whereas some other drift, it's just get on doors, do whatever you can, go as fast as you can, and the aesthetics aren't really the whole point of it. But I don't really have one that I don't like, honestly.
Um, so I think I got it off of your explanation, but
Mhm.
my friend tried calling me and it cut off the audio.
Uh-huh.
What was the question?
When it comes to track time, what car model do you despise shooting and why?
Um, I love this car,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm gonna say this just to have an answer because again, video, things that look exciting on camera.
Mm-hmm.
One of the cars that doesn't look very exciting on camera
Mm-hmm.
is, and please don't hate me for saying this, but the older AE86s.
Okay,
They're very, most of them aren't very fast and they
correct,
don't look super exciting on camera.
correct.
Like you're watching a lot of cars that some cars can do these laps in like 20 seconds at best, and
Yep.
then the AE86 comes by and it's like and you're like
Right.
holy shit. No, nothing against those cars.
Right.
I love them. I think they look super cool.
Mm-hmm.
I love looking at the engine setups, especially when you pop the hood and somebody's got like ITDs.
Mm-hmm.
I think that looks so cool to me, especially seeing it mounted so it's for rear wheel drive. Because like I grew up building Hondas and fucking around with Hondas a lot. So
Right.
I was always it always is cool to me seeing little four cylinders mounted for rear wheel drive.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy looking at them. It's just they're too slow is my thing.
Yeah.
And to note, I did shoot a full AE86 only event
Mm-hmm.
last August
Missouri.
back home before I left. Yeah, I shot that event. I haven't done a lot with the footage, but
Mm-hmm.
I shot it. I want to do more with it. I'm planning on doing more with it. But yeah, it's not super exciting.
Yeah. A solid three said mainly stock cars, to be honest. So for me, like I think AE86s, the old ones, really lend themselves to black and white. So if you can flip that into that moodier aesthetic, it helps to make up for some of the slowness of that car or some of the boxiness of that car. It feels more like it belongs in black and white to me. So that's what I always do when I'm shooting them. I think about what it's going to look like in black and white, not just the color. My workhorse lens for shooting cars. So I have a Tamron lens. I love Tamron. So I have a Tamron 2875 2.8. That thing, I've had it for years and years, and I have taken photos on it that people thought was with a macro, and it was with that lens. Like it is solid. It always takes amazing photos. Everything is crisp. I don't get any focal breathing, and I think someone mentioned focal breathing back up there. I got a Sigma lens that's a 5100 art lens, and that thing breathes like there's no tomorrow. It is very hard, especially with a white car with that lens, to get them on track. Like it just shoots the focus everywhere, which drives me crazy.
Like,
Okay, how do we feel about trucks? Do you believe they deserve a place on the track with the other traditional drift cars? So there's a truck that ran at Musselman, and it's Missile Works, and he looked great. Like it wasn't hard to shoot him. He was keeping up with the speed and everything of all the other cars. So realistically for me, it's just another car coming by. What do y'all do for work to fund this hobby? If it's not photog related already. So Steve has a photog related job. I am a yoga teacher when I'm actually teaching. So that's what I do. So
that's cool
okay.
though. When to answer the truck question, I feel the same way. I think trucks have their place.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's no rhyme or reason why they can't be a part of it. If they got
Mm-hmm.
power to the rear wheels, why not? And then there's a guy from back home, Foxy Lady Racing, that he's got I believe it's an LS swapped S10,
Mm-hmm.
and that thing rips.
Oh
He's
yeah.
giving me a couple laps, a couple ride-alongs for a few laps, and like not only are they super easy to shoot out of,
Mhm.
it was weird and fun being higher up than normal. Like
Oh,
normally when you're drifting, you're like on the ground, you feel like, and while he is a lowered truck, it still sits up higher than your car traditionally would. So I think having that higher up feeling is it's sort of it's just a different feeling, I
yeah.
guess.
Yeah. So when shooting still photos, do you just rely on natural light or do you use artificial or both? So my still photos are going to be typically pit photos. So I'm just using whatever light is available to me. I'm not going to drag out a light box or set up something like that. But I also don't, or at, to this point, have not done car specific shoots. I'm usually at track, which means I'm on the pits or on the track, but I'm not just having a car go to a certain place in town, take an artsy photo, that kind of thing. I haven't really done much of that. So, what about you, Steve?
I think for me, it depends on the setting. If I'm shooting outdoor, I'm probably gonna just mostly rely on natural light, even if it's at night. Because I mean, if you're in a well-lit area, it can look really, really neat.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes, but yeah, like daytime, not really gonna, not, I'm not bringing like bounce cards along with me. If I'm shooting photos, I might. That's more of like a portrait photography thing
Mm-hmm.
for me, just because it's nice to be able to eliminate the shadows on somebody's face. But like with a car, you kind of want the shadows, so
Mm-hmm.
I don't really like try and, oh, I don't like the shadow here, I want to get rid of that. And
Mm-hmm.
that's just a matter of position the car differently at that point.
Yeah.
But I have done shoots on interiors. I used to work for a company up in Wisconsin called Fitment
Mm-hmm.
Industries. And when I was doing YouTube videos for them, there was a lot of times we were shooting, wheels on a turntable going around. I did a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
I did a lot of those edits, and it was always really, really fun to light that stuff. But we had lights that were, they were set up in a corner. We just had to pull them out, plug them in, and go to town. And then I've shot a few cars on the inside of their building as well. But like shooting like a dark blue car or a black car inside with not like when you're shooting a car and you need like a big light source inside, we
Yeah.
didn't have it. We
Mm-hmm.
had like, maybe a 3 foot round softbox, which isn't a big enough light source
Mm-hmm.
to cover the entirety of the car. It lights up a very small portion. So I could use it for close ups, but I couldn't use it so much for the big, wider, extravagant shots like the hero shots of the car or anything.
Right.
So it's just situational.
Yeah.
It all depends.
Okay. So these are going to be our last two questions because we're already at 50 minutes. So again, from Unknown Casey, do you believe that you will continue to shoot drift content in the coming years? Or what do you believe will be the next content field you are interested in shooting?
Hmm. I would say yes. The goal for me has always been to get into shooting Formula Drift.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really enjoy that, but I also have learned that you don't need to really be media to be able to shoot at Formula Drift. Like, yeah, to get on the track, to get into the media boxes, yeah, you need to, be with
Mm-hmm.
somebody, be in with that. But like I could go I went to Atlanta last year. I could have taken my camera and set up
Mm-hmm.
anywhere in the stands with around anybody
Mm-hmm.
and shot and gotten great content. Uh, so I think shooting drift is something that I'm always going to want to do, even when I'm not doing it. I need to plan another drift event to go down to Houston for.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I don't see myself not shooting automotive based things for at least the next 5 years. I mean, I'd love to shoot movies. Um, right now, my lane is automotive, so I'm going to stick with that.
Yep.
If I can get to shooting like cinematic commercials, movies with cars, I'm all for it. Like that kind of thing's super cool to me because I think it takes a special talent to make a car look pretty because I've seen plenty of examples of people making cars not look pretty.
Right.
Um,
Right.
yeah, you win some, you lose some, but yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's something that I think I want to continue doing for the long run.
Okay, so for me personally, yes, I want to continue drift photography. I really have a goal of shooting at new tracks. So that's what I've been kind of working on this year because I got to shoot at Musselman. I shoot at Speed Sports usually. And then the boys are going to mid pond, so I'm going to get to shoot at mid pond. So just kind of collecting the different tracks for those. I think it gives you that creative inspiration of maybe not standing in the same place you're used to standing or going for the same shot you're used to going, just by the nature of the track being different. So that's, for me, that's my kind of upcoming goal, is to just get to go to more of these things and shoot more of these things and kind of learn to improve video, photography, all of it. So that's kind of a work future for me. Okay, last one, and then we're going to shut down. What is your desired aspect ratio? Do you care more about the algorithm or your style?
So I definitely don't like having to crop for vertical. I would love to set my rig up to be able to shoot vertical and not have to worry about that. But when you turn the camera on its axis like that, it gets a little wonky, gets a little weird. Which I think in time I will learn to do, just because that's just what's in and that's what people are watching. And I would like to step my reels up to being true 4K and not landscape just with a 4K vertical on it.
Right. Yeah.
So like, I would say though, when it comes to algorithm or style, I definitely care more about my style. I'm not going to change my style to work with the algorithm. I find that when I'm shooting and it's like you've complimented a lot of the music choices that I have. That's a huge thing for me, and I'm very, very, very particular about my song choices. And I mean, I'm influenced by a lot of different filmmakers in that regard, because there's so many different things that I could name off that I'm not even going to start, but there's a lot of different inspiration that comes behind the music choices and why I choose, like, whether it's from a movie or whether I'm like, man, I vibe out on this song and I can really see something cool in my head. It's just, it all comes down to what I want to create, and the having to cater to vertical video is about as far as I'm willing to go. I'm not going to change up my style other than that. I mean, I would prefer to have all my stuff in horizontal. The problem is that nobody would watch it.
Right.
Because they all want to watch everything in the vertical format now, because that's what they're doing.
Yes.
I will still continue to upload to my YouTube for having the normal horizontal landscape format. But I won't ever change my style of, like, I'm not always going to pick the trending songs. I'm not going to do some edit that, some Andre from Germany did this crazy ass one take edit with his Zion crane and his Sony A600. Like, why aren't you doing stuff like that? It's like, he did that. That's his thing. That's his style. I don't want to replicate somebody else's style. I want my style to be true to who I am. And I don't think I've stepped too far away from what that is by going vertical. It's just a way of getting the right amount of eyes, or not the right amount. Doesn't really bother me.
Eyes.
Yeah, just getting any eyes on my videos, period. Yeah. Like, I upload the same videos to Instagram that I upload to TikTok, and on Instagram they do decent, they do well. But on TikTok, I'll upload a video that might do 10K on Instagram. On TikTok, it does 2. And I'm like, so the TikTok thing I don't really screw with. And
Okay, so some folks are joining right as we're fixing to shut down. But there's one last comment from a solid 3. How do y'all stay happy with your shots? Like, are you still your harshest critic? So for me, yes, absolutely. And it kind of plays into not letting the algorithm get you. Because if you just base it on how many likes you get or how many watches you get or whatever, then that just destroys, right, everything that you've put in there. But if you have a certain thing that you're looking for, and Steve kind of mentioned that, if you have a certain thing that gets you excited and that's what you're shooting and that's what you're posting, that helps it to be less of, oh, I'm just going to kick myself kind of feeling, right? Like, it's really, when you go through looking at car photography or videos or whatever, what you gravitate towards is where you should kind of direct yourself, because that's what interests you, and that's what you're still going to have the excitement to shoot regardless of whatever Instagram changes next week. So
Yeah,
Okay. Well,
I agree.
um,
Definitely harshest critic. And
yeah,
yeah, the way you stay happy with your shots is just keep shooting. Um, just keep shooting and pay attention to what you're doing. And if you think you did something wrong, try and figure out what that is. If you have ADD, it's probably pretty good to think about all those things.
right.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So I got some lovely compliments from Unknown Casey. Beautiful answers to each of y'all. Cheers. And from Alex, this has been absolutely amazing. Thank you both for doing this from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much. The fact that people appreciate this kind of series and what I'm bringing out just makes me really happy. So I appreciate all of you for joining, and I appreciate you, Steve, for being my guest. And this should upload quickly. If you want to see more of Steve, I'll have his account in there so you can go check out his work, and you can shoot me your YouTube, and I'll add that to that as well.
okay. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, I can definitely do that. Thank you for having
Of
me.
course.
Appreciate the compliments from everybody. That's super, super cool. I'm glad that they tuned in. Sorry that I'm a bit of a chatty Cathy. That's sort of a thing that I get from my mom. But yeah,
Yeah.
this was super fun. I'd love to do it again if you ever wanted me to have me on again sometime.
Awesome. Of course, of course. And Alex is saying he would love more. So I do this every other Friday. We have the next two guests lined up, and then we'll see. We might bring Steve back on. So it'll be the same time, 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Arizona time. And that will be, I'll put the dates that's coming out. I usually promote it before it happens because I want to make sure people come on and hear all the great stuff that you guys share with us.
Yeah,
Thanks, Zach.
yeah. Anybody who is here that follows me that doesn't follow Drift Mom, go follow her now so that way you can keep up with this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because I got on this because I watched her last stream and I thought that was super insightful and really cool. And I wasn't necessarily throwing my hat in the ring when you asked me to do it, but I was like, yeah, like I did a podcast once. I could do this, sure.
Yeah, yeah. It's not as scary as everybody thinks it
Yeah,
is. Like
that's true.
we try to, make sure we keep it copacetic for everyone. Yes, 8 p.m. Eastern. I will start adding that to my timing. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to shut it down. Thank you so much again, everyone. And I will go ahead and get this uploaded as soon as Instagram lets me. And then the next one will be in a couple weeks from now. All right. Have a great night.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.